Hi, my name is Indy O'Connor. I'm the head trainer here at the Florence complex for the Wild Horse and Burro and Inmate program. And the purpose of this video is to show you what you should do when you get your wild horse and burro home on the first day. The worst thing you can do is to get your horse home and just let it sit in a pasture or a paddock for an extended period of time, and then try to go out and catch your horse and try to start working with it. These horses, being wild, they bond with the person who is working with them, and it takes them a little time to kind of get used to a new person. So what I'm going to do is work here with one of our wild horses, Buddy. We're going to just pretend that he has just made it here, and he's been trained, but he hasn't been caught or touched by me. So what I would do is first move the horse around the arena here. You can use a ranch rope, a lariat, or you can use a halter and lead rope. It's really up to you. Today I'll use the halter and lead rope that I'm going to put on him. And the purpose of this exercise is to make everything away from me is work, and everything by me is calm. Everything by me is good. So I'm going to be moving him around the arena a couple of times one way. I'll switch hands with the rope and I'll block him off and ask him to go the other direction. And when I see him kind of give me an eye off the fence, I'll back off and see if he'll turn off the fence to me, come off the fence to me. Once he does that, then I'll do what horses do in the wild. I will add some pressure with my body language towards the hindquarters of the horse. As soon as they yield those hindquarters away from me, then I walk away. And that is the invitation to the horse to come to me. Once I get that going pretty well, then I'll start to rub on the horse, and then I can put the halter on. Once I get the halter on and lead rope, then I'll explain some of the initial groundwork that we do with our horses here to help you when you are in the saddle. So first thing I'm going to do is ask Buddy here to start moving around the round pen. I'm going to start. If he turns to me like that, I'll move him away. And I'll stop him here, and I'll ask him to go the other direction. That little kick out there is disrespectful, so I'm not going to let him stop until he moves. What I'm looking for is for him to give me his eye. And once he does that, I walk away from him. If he starts to follow me like he is, I'll just keep walking. If he stops, I'll take and I'll put the lead rope in my right hand. If he moves off, I'll move him off again. Everything away from me is pressure. Everything by me is good. He gave me his eye there. I walk away. See right there, I just looked at his hindquarters and walked away. And now I'm offering an invitation to come to me. You can see that he's licking his lips. That's a sign that he's thinking. From this point, I will look at those hindquarters, walk away. Look at the hindquarters. He's kind of blocking me off on his right side, which is something that I would be mindful of. Horses have a side to them that is a little more protective about. So I'm going to walk over here, block him with my hand, just rub on him. Look at those hindquarters, and walk away again. So this is what we call hooking on or joining up. You can say it either way. When I stop, he should stop and understand that being with me is the good deal. Being away from me is the bad deal. From this point, I would take my halter, and I recommend rope halters instead of broadband. Broadband halters do not apply the pressure that you need. The rope halters are designed with these knots to apply pressure to the face of the horse, and when the horse moves away from that pressure and you give to the horse, it takes that pressure off immediately. Where you should have your hand, where your top of your halter should be, is about a man's hand width from the nostril tops up to that first band on the nose. I'm going to ask him to turn just a little bit so you can kind of see how I tie the knot. You go around the loop here, and then you just tie around that loop, just like that. If your end of your halter is a little long, just snug that down in there like that so it doesn't bump him in the eye. Now that I have him on the halter, what I'm going to do is demonstrate for you the first bit of groundwork that we do with our horse. One thing I want you to notice is that anytime the horse takes a step towards me or a step away from me that I didn't ask it to do, I'll either bring it to me if they step back or away from me if they step forward, the same amount of steps. My horse should wait on me. I have a 15-foot lead rope that I designed that I use for all my groundwork. It has a little pop around the end of it if I need it. What I do when I'm teaching new people is I throw it out away from me, which is a reminder to me of the direction that I'm going to step. I want my horse to follow a feel here. That means every time I move the halter one way or another, I want him to follow that feel and give to me. Okay, so I asked him to come forward. I'm going to ask him to back up a little bit, just like that. Now what I'm going to do is called leading out. I'm going to step across his face and point to my left. It's important to step across your horse's face so that they follow that feel. That's just like when you're in the saddle and you're going to ask your horse to move, in this case right, you would bring your rein out that direction. And if you've done your groundwork well, then they will follow that feel and go the direction that you want. What I'm looking for here is for him to step out around me to my left, nice and quiet. If he goes to a trot right now, or if he goes even faster than that, that's okay on the first try. So I'm going to step across here and point. If he doesn't go the direction I want, I'll bring this end up and I'll start to swing it here, and I'll ask him to go around me. In this case, he's going nice and slow on a nice walk. He's not bothered. As he goes around me a couple of times, maybe 3 times, what I'm going to do then is I'm going to tip his nose to me, and I'm going to drive his hindquarters away so that he squares up. So I tip, and I drive those hindquarters away. I'd like a little more, so there, now he's squared up. And I'll rub on him. Now if he were to step to me after he squared up, I'd back him up by taking the lead rope and swinging it back and forth like that. I'm going to ask him to go to my right, stepped across, and he went. This is the side that he's a little more protective about, but he's moving off nice and quiet for me. And I'll tip the nose, walk to the hindquarters till they yield, and I get a nice square up. If he is distracted by something on the outside, I'll just tip his nose back to me and say, hey, pay attention to me. So this time I'm going to ask him to go around me again, but I'm going to ask him to go a little bit faster here as he goes to a walk. When I bring the rope up, he should go to a trot, just like that. I'm not going to ask him to lope on this short line. But I want him to stay at the trot for me until I ask him to slow down. The way I'm going to ask him to slow down is by tipping his nose a little bit until he goes to a walk and then give him his head back. I would be doing that in the saddle also. Sometimes if you're riding by a fence and you need him to get to slow down, you can tip the nose to the fence a little bit and they'll start to slow down. I'm going to bring him back up to the trot. Go around me a couple times. When he gets around on this other side, I'll demonstrate that tipping the nose a little bit and then just give him his head back and let him go. And then when he comes around, I'll tip his nose and drive the hindquarters away to a stop. A little more. There you go. And then I'll rub on him. And I'm watching those feet all the time. If he takes one step the way I don't want, I'm going to back him up or ask him to go the opposite way. I'm going to ask him to go to my right again. First out a walk, and then I'll ask him to trot just by bringing that rope up. On some horses, you may have to get a little more assertive with the end of your rope to get them to get to the trot. The one thing you don't want to do is have them pull their head away from you. I'm going to tip the nose. Nope. Tip the nose a little bit just to slow that down and just let them walk. Keep going. Then tip the nose, drive the hindquarters away to a stop. And then I'm always petting on him to let him know he did good. Okay, and you can see him licking his lips. He's starting to think a little bit, trying to think this through. Very important that when you point with your lead rope and they go the direction you want, put your hand down. Stop pointing. Okay? Otherwise, the horse will get confused. If the horse goes at the speed that you want and you're having to maybe twirl the end of your lead rope and they finally get that speed that you want, put it down. Okay? I'm going to demonstrate this with the lead rope first and then I'll use a flag. Okay? Now the next thing, and you'll notice he just took a step there to me, I'm going to back him up just by going like that with the lead rope until he takes a step back. He shouldn't crowd my space or come to me unless I ask him to, until I invite him in here. Okay? Now, I want to check out his ability to step out with his front feet. What we want when we're in the saddle, we want a balanced horse. So when our horse steps out, just like if I was going to walk that way to the fence, okay, I wouldn't do this and walk to the fence. I'm off balance. I would step out and walk to the fence. So in order for me to check that out, I'm going to have him go around me again, and then I'm going to drive the hindquarters away, and then ask him to go the opposite direction. And I'm looking for his feet to step out. So I'll drive the hindquarters away, and then I'll move the front end off. I'll do it to my left first. Ask him to go around me. Have him go around me once. Then what I'm going to do is tip the nose, walk to the hip, change hands, and ask him to go the other direction. It's okay if he trots. Switch hands with the rope, walk to the hip, ask him to step out the other direction. I'm looking for, again, in those front feet to see if he's stepping them out or if he's crossing them up. Walk to the hip, point the other direction. He backed up a little bit. That's all right. I just drive him off. Switch hands, hindquarters. He's a little lost there. Just move him off. You're also working on your timing. Walk to the hip. So you go that way. There you go. That's a little better. Still kind of backing up a little bit. We can work with that. Walk to the hip. So you go that direction. There you go. Now he's starting to get it. Walk to the hip. And there. See how he stepped that left foot out nice. So because he did that, I'm going to invite him to stop, lick his lips and think, and then I'll rub on him. Good. Okay. What I'm going to do now is show you another tool that we use here. It's a flag. It operates the same as the end of my lead rope. It's another pressure tool. We don't use whips or dressage whips or anything like that. And I think it's very important that you understand that what I'm doing with him, this is not lunging. Lunging is usually used as a tool for exercise, and it can become a little bit mindless for the horse. Everything I'm doing with the horse, moving him one way or the other, has a purpose. And when he accomplishes what I want, I'm inviting him to stop so he can get the reward of taking the pressure off. Now, the first time you introduce a flag to a horse, you have to be aware of your space, that the horse might want to pull back or jump forward. Always kind of be in a safe spot. For me, I'm going to want to be a little bit to his left here. So if he moves off to my right or comes this direction, I'm in a safe spot. First thing I'm going to do is just bring the flag up, let him see it, smell on it. He didn't move back, he wasn't afraid, so I'll put it down. That's a try. And then I'll reward him by rubbing on him. All of the horses here are used to flags, so when you get one of our horses home, they'll be pretty used to it. But what they're not going to be used to is you. This time I'll bring it up and I'll rub on him with it. And I'll put it away. And I'll rub on him. Now I'm going to go on his neck a little bit. I'm in my safe spot. He's got an opening there if he needs it. He's pretty good at that. And I'll rub him on his back, just like an extension of my hand. I'll bring it up. He was a little bothered by that, but not too bad. And I'll rub on him. And I'll put it away and rub on him again. Do it on the other side. Important to do it. You do it one side, you have to do it the other. Horses process information differently, one eye to the other. So just because they're okay with it on the left side does not mean they're going to be okay immediately on the right side. Horses do not have good depth perception. That's why when they encounter something new on the ground, whether it's a tarp or water or even a difference in the track of the ground, they might stop and be a little bit worried about it because they don't have good depth perception. To them, there's the concern that they might go somewhere that is a danger to them by stepping on that. That's one reason why horses have a hard time backing out of trailers sometimes. They have a blind spot directly behind them. They can't see the back of the trailer if you're backing them out. So for them, stepping into nothingness is just that. It's into nothingness, and they might die. I think it's very important to understand, too, especially with wild horses, that you cannot, no matter how good of a trainer you are or a horseman you are, you cannot train out the wildness of a horse. You cannot train out instinct. What you can do is get the horse to bond with you and partner with you. In my opinion, there's no such thing as a bomb-proof horse, whether that's domestic or wild or otherwise. That instinct has been there for millions of years. It is what Mother Nature has incorporated into the horse so that they can survive. And that's how they have survived so long. So they will work with you as long as they understand that you mean them no harm and that you're not a predator. To a horse, especially a wild one, somebody new or something new into their environment is a potential threat. Everything is a potential threat until they get used to it. And the flip side to fear is curiosity. So when a horse becomes curious about something, then they're going to start to learn that thing might not be so bad. So now that I've rubbed on him with both sides, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start to wave the flag. Again, you get your horse home for the first time, if you've never worked with that horse might back up, that horse might want to jump to the side to get away from this flag. But in this case, Buddy's pretty good with it, pretty used to it. We try to desensitize all of our horses to this stuff. Again, when you're introducing the flag, you're rubbing on both sides to make sure that your horse is okay with that. Okay? Horse has several blind spots. One is directly on its back, one is directly behind it, another one is right here in the chest area, and another one is above its head. Okay, so now that we've rubbed all over the front of our horse with the flag, and he's good at that, and just a point of safety, never do that with your rope, especially if a wild horse. If your horse takes off, you're going to have probably a missing limb. So you're going to want to, if you want to keep it out of the ground, you can make a bend, and you can just put it over your elbow, the crook of your arm, and have it there. And if I need to, I can grab it that way, or I can just drop it. He's not going to go anywhere. He's in a round pen. So I'm going to do this now. I'm going to just start taking the flag on both sides of him. Again, you can kind of see that I'm kind of off to his left shoulder a little bit. If he moved off that way, he's got room to go. When I go over here, I can move over this way. Okay? He's real good at that. Rub over here. I might rub here or take the flag and go this way, be on his by his hindquarters. Want to check out, make sure he's good at that. Underneath him, that's another blind spot that I neglected to mention, right underneath him. That's real good. I'd switch hands. And you have to be real careful that when you have the lead rope here, because horses are very sensitive, that you're not pulling or tugging, because they're just going to come to you if you've taught them to give to pressure. Go underneath him like that. Now, here in Florence, Arizona, what we do is we do a lot of this flag work. Maybe start out here like a bird. It might come out of the bushes, over on the side. We want to be up here. We work with our horses carrying flags. We ride with the flags up on both sides of the horse. We pass flags off to each other. So if you get a horse from us, they're going to have that introduction. But that doesn't mean necessarily that you get your horse home and they're going to automatically do it, because like I said, they haven't bonded with you yet. Okay? Now, the last thing I really want to show you in this very beginning part of the groundwork, this isn't all of the groundwork we do, but this is some stuff that will really help you when you get your horse home to start to get a bond with them, is I'm just going to ask my horse to lead out from me using the flag as opposed to the bottom end of my lead rope. So I'm going to step across to my left here in a second, and if he doesn't go, I'm going to bring the flag up and I'm going to add some pressure with the flag. If he still doesn't go, I might tag him on his shoulder with it and say, move off that pressure. Horses want to move away from pressure. So I'll step across here. If he doesn't go, I'll wave the flag, and then I'll ask him to go. I'm not hurting that horse at all with this flag. It's very soft. It's a bendable stick. And the nice thing about a flag, if I want to do that where I switch sides, I can walk to the hip and I can bring the flag up here and move them off. I can switch sides, walk to the hip, bring the flag up, move them off. There you go. Okay? I'll invite him to stop and square up. Now, real important, because I tagged him a little bit with the flag, I want to go back to rubbing him with it just like it was my hand. The flag then, in that case, becomes kind of like your legs, adding pressure to the horse to move off. Do it the other way. Here, if he doesn't move, I'll bring the flag up. If he still doesn't go, I'll tap him with it. And then I'll invite him to stop. And then I'll go back to rubbing him. See, he was a little hesitant on that side about it, but he was okay. He worked through that. What I really like is he's not stepping towards me, trying to crowd my space. Some horses will be pushy that way. Some horses will back up. But Buddy is being real cooperative here. So that's just sort of an introduction to some of the groundwork. But the last thing I do want to show you is something I can't stress enough, and that is lateral bending. So I'm going to ask Buddy to come with me a little bit here and turn him here so you can kind of see what I'm doing. Lateral bending is where you get the horse to bend their head right and left. It is some trainers want them to bend so far down that they touch their nose to their belly. I don't do that because the horse is off balance then. And then if you get into trouble where you have to do a one-rein stop and you ask for that bend, especially if the horse is going at speed and they've touched their belly, you run the risk of the horse being off balance and you coming off and going kind of like a somersault. So what I do is I put the lead rope, but just with a bend, maybe halfway. I just put the lead rope over their back, okay? And then I take I've got my hip kind of next to the horse, and I'm just asking him to follow that feel. If he walks off a little bit, I'm just going with him. Just asking him to follow the feel there and bend to me. What I'm looking for is that when he bends to me, that his ears are level. There. So as if you had a carpenter's level and you put it across his ears, when they bend, the bubble stays level. I'm going to ask him to step over here a minute, and I'll do it on the other side. Okay. Rub him. I'm just asking him to follow that feel around to me. Again, if he walks a little bit, that's all right now. There. And then I'll rub on him. Follow that feel around. Just like that. That's as far as I need my horses to go in a lateral bend to really get done what I need to get done. There's a lot of other groundwork that we do to prepare our horse to be ridden, especially for the first time. But when you get your horse home, you're going to set yourself up for success by doing these little bit of exercises. And if you do it the day you get the horse home, you're going to be leaps and bounds ahead of developing a partnership with that animal. If you let the horse sit in a pasture or a paddock for a week or a month or whatever the case may be, and then you try to go out and put a halter on that horse has no reference with you. Okay? And if you approach the horse just with the halter coming at it, they're going to back away from you. Now you're approaching the horse more like a predator as opposed to a partner. So again, as soon as you get your horse home, if you have a round pen, and if you don't, I highly recommend you get one. Get them going around like I showed you. Get them to hook on to you. Put the halter on and do these brief exercises. I'll be posting more about our rest of our groundwork so you can see that. But for now, this is the best way to get started with your horse. And remember, if you let them sit, then you're going to have problems. As soon as you get them home, they're coming off the trailer, coming to your house, they're in a new place, new environment. They're looking for somebody or someone in their herd to help them in that moment. And that herd boss is you. So you have to do that. You cannot just let them sit and make excuses about not going out there and doing your work. Once you do that, you'll have a partner for life. The next thing I'm going to show you is what you do with your burro. Burros are different than horses, but we'll come back with a burro in just a second. Yeah, we're back. I wanted to talk just a minute about burros. The burro, even though they're part of the equine family, they do not respond the same way as horses do. This burro here is Smoka. Smoka was born on facility, but he's still from a wild lineage. He's still a wild burro. Whereas horses will give to pressure, burros will push into it. So there are some things you can't do with a burro that you do with a horse. Smoka is really friendly, and the reason why I wanted to use him was to kind of reinforce that. If you're adopting a burro and you get that burro home and you get him out of the trailer, what you really want to do, and you have them on a halter, is you really want to put your hands on them, rub on them, make sure that they're real good with you and your presence. Smoka is real friendly here. Okay? The best thing you can do for your burro is to love on them. Okay? Let them smell you. Okay? Rub all over them. Make sure that they know that you're friendly and you're not somebody who's going to be a predator for them. When we have burros born here, the day they're born, we are putting hands on. Some people call that imprinting. I guess you could call it that, but what we're trying to do is get them to understand that we are not in any way, shape, or form a predator. So I want to make sure that I love all over him and that he's good with me. The more I can rub on him, the better. And especially if you have just one burro, once you rub all over them and you love on them, they're going to be your buddy for life. Okay? Now, leading a burro is different than a horse. With a horse, if you add pressure, you're trying to teach them to give to that pressure and follow you. A burro sometimes will sit back. So what we do here is we have the bump command or demand, rule. So if I'm walking and if he didn't follow with me, didn't lead with me, I would bump demand. Okay. Now Smoka is a good example of a donkey that has really come to like and enjoy people. Okay. It's important to understand that both horses and burros, they can't kick what they can see. So if I'm behind, they can kick me. But if I'm over here to the side, I think I might get kicked, I'm going to bring his head to me, and there goes the hindquarters. The hindquarters go away from me. Okay? Asking the burro to back up. If he didn't back up, I would bump demand. Okay? He hears his buddies out in the field. But I just wanted to take a minute and just say that when you get your burro home, as important as it is with the horses to start moving them around and getting them to follow and hook on, when you get your burro home, love all over them. I mean, it's not hard. They're the cutest things in the world. So make sure you can rub all over them, up and down their feet. We teach our burros to pick up their feet. And you want to make sure you can do that with them. Rub all over them, love on them. One thing you don't want to let them do is bite on you, so just kind of bump them away if they start to nibble. That's the same with a horse too. Just rub all over them and love them and make sure that they don't see you as anything other than one of their herd. So really when it comes to burros, that's the main thing you need to do when you get your burro home. And once you do that, you're going to have a partner for life. So I hope you enjoyed that video and look forward to seeing you down the trail.